Good evening, everyone. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something good? And when was the last time you told the world about it? We live in an age where applause is instant, where validation is a currency, and where a single act of kindness often comes with a caption, a hashtag, and a dozen filters. But let me tell you something. Real kindness, real greatness doesn't need an audience. Because the purest form of giving is giving without expecting a round of applause. The truest acts of kindness are the ones no one ever sees. Think about this. When you make a mistake, when you falter, when you fail, what do? You hide it. You cover it up. You don't want the world to see your flaws, your weaknesses. Now imagine if we did. In a world driven by social media, instant gratification, and constant validation, the concept of doing something good without telling anyone seems almost foreign. Everywhere we look, people are sharing their achievements, their generosity, and their moments of kindness. It has become the norm to publicize even the simplest acts of goodness, as if the worth of kindness is determined by how many likes, comments, or shares it receives. But the truth is, real kindness doesn't need an audience. It is not defined by recognition. It is defined by sincerity. Imagine helping an elderly person cross the street, donating to a cause you believe in, or lifting someone's spirits with words of encouragement. Now imagine doing all of that without feeling the need to tell a single soul about it. What does that leave you with? A quiet satisfaction, a deep sense of fulfillment, a moment of true selflessness. That is the essence of real kindness. It exists for the sake of goodness itself, not for external validation. When we seek acknowledgement for our good deeds, we shift the focus from the act itself to how it is perceived. It becomes less about helping and more about being seen helping. And in that process, the purity of the action gets diluted. True kindness is powerful because it comes from the heart, expecting nothing in return. It is selfless, untouched by the need for appreciation, and rooted in the understanding that doing good is its own reward. One of the greatest examples of this can be found in everyday life. Think of a parent who sacrifices for their child without expecting thanks. A teacher who stays late to help a struggling student without telling anyone. Or a stranger who pays for someone's meal without ever revealing their identity. These are the moments of kindness that shape the world, not because they are broadcasted, but because they are genuine. The impact of such acts is immeasurable, even when they go unnoticed. There is also something incredibly freeing about doing good without seeking validation. It liberates us from the pressures of approval, from the need to be seen as kind, generous, or noble. Instead of shaping our actions around public perception, we begin to act from a place of true compassion. And when we do that, we create a ripple effect. Kindness inspires kindness, even when it remains unseen. In the end, the real measure of goodness is not in how many people acknowledge it, but in how deeply it touches the lives of others. It is in the quiet moments of giving, the unseen sacrifices, the silent support we offer to those in need. The world does not need another performance of kindness. It needs genuine, heartfelt acts of love and care. And when we understand that, we realize that the most powerful acts of kindness are the ones done without an audience. There is something profoundly powerful about silence. In a world where everything is broadcasted, where people seek acknowledgement for even the smallest acts of kindness, silence becomes a rare and meaningful choice. When kindness is done in silence, it holds a sincerity that is untouched by external influence. It carries a depth that cannot be measured by applause or approval. Silence amplifies sincerity because it removes the need for validation and allows goodness to exist in its purest form. When someone performs a good deed without speaking about it, without showcasing it, it becomes a true reflection of their character. There is no expectation of reward, no underlying motive to impress others. The act is done simply because it is the right thing to do, and that in itself makes it more powerful. Kindness that seeks recognition is conditional. It thrives on external appreciation. But kindness that exists without recognition is unconditional, selfless, and genuine. Consider the difference between someone who helps a struggling person in secret and someone who does it in front of an audience. The one who helps in silence carries a deeper sense of sincerity because their actions are not influenced by how others perceive them. There is no performance, no need to prove goodness. It is simply an extension of who they are. The impact of that silent kindness often resonates more profoundly than a public display because it is felt, not just seen. Silence also preserves the dignity of the one being helped. Many times, people who are in need do not wish to be put in the spotlight. They do not want their struggles to become a spectacle. When kindness is done quietly, it respects the emotions and vulnerabilities of others. It does not make them feel like a charity case or a reason for someone else's self-congratulation. Instead, it allows them to receive help with grace and dignity without the burden of feeling indebted or exposed. Moreover, when we keep our good deeds to ourselves, it changes the way we see kindness. Instead of treating it as something that needs to be advertised, we begin to see it as a natural part of who we are. It becomes a habit, a way of life, rather than an occasional act meant for approval. The more we practice silent kindness, the more it becomes second nature, something we do simply because it feels right, not because we expect anything in return. Ultimately, the most sincere acts of kindness are the ones that do not need to be spoken about. They are the quiet gestures, the small sacrifices, the unnoticed moments of compassion that truly define who we are. In a world that constantly demands attention, choosing to do good in silence is a radical and powerful act. It allows kindness to remain pure, untainted by the need for validation, and creates a ripple effect that touches lives in ways that words never could. True character is not built in the moments when the world is watching, but rather in the moments when no one is around to see. Our real essence is shaped by what we do when there's no applause, no cameras, no validation. In these unseen moments, our choices reveal who we truly are. It is easy to act with integrity when there's a spotlight on us, when others are observing, when our actions could be applauded. But it takes true character to make the right choices when no one is looking, when no one will ever know but us. This is where the core of our integrity lies. The act of doing good when no one is watching speaks to a deep understanding of what it means to be genuine and selfless. It's not about seeking recognition or reward. It's about doing what feels right, even when there is no external acknowledgement. It's about understanding that our actions define us, not the reactions they elicit from others. When we make the right choices in private, we build an inner strength, an authenticity that cannot be taken away or influenced by others' opinions. In these quiet moments of solitude, when no one is observing our actions, we are able to connect more deeply with ourselves. The choices we make in these times show us what we value, what we stand for, and what truly matters to us. It's when no one is watching that our actions come from the most honest parts of ourselves. Without the influence of external expectations, we are free to be true to our beliefs and principles. Doing good when no one is watching also shows a sense of personal responsibility. We understand that what we do impacts the world even if it's not seen. Our actions, even in private, can make a difference, whether it's a small gesture of kindness to someone in need or a moment of self-discipline to stay true to our word. These actions are not driven by the need for validation, but by an inner sense of responsibility and accountability. In a world obsessed with visibility and recognition, it can be tempting to let the opinions of others determine our sense of worth. But the true test of character is in those private moments, when we are not concerned with what others think. These unseen actions are what build our character, not the public performances we put on. They are the quiet choices that form the foundation of who we are and how we live our lives. When we do good in private, we are also reinforcing a sense of self-respect. We are not waiting for others to confirm our value. We are giving ourselves that validation through the choices we make. In the absence of an audience, we don't need praise because we already know our worth. These moments, though unnoticed by others, are where we nurture our personal growth and integrity. They allow us to remain true to ourselves and in doing so, create a stronger, more authentic version of who we are. Ultimately, the real measure of a person is not in their public persona or the applause they receive, but in their private actions. the decisions they make when no one is watching. It is in those moments that true character is formed. And it is in those moments that we find out who we really are. When we do good deeds and seek nothing in return, we tap into a deeper, more meaningful form of kindness. This type of kindness does not need recognition or applause to feel fulfilled. The idea of letting the universe be our witness rather than expecting validation from others challenges the need for constant external affirmation. It is an invitation to be more attuned to the intrinsic rewards of doing good, knowing that the value of our actions lies not in how they are perceived by others, but in how they resonate within our own hearts and souls. The concept of letting the universe be our witness speaks to the idea that goodness is a universal language. It doesn't need an audience to be understood. The energy behind every kind action, no matter how small, reverberates beyond immediate recognition. Even if we never receive a thank you or recognition for our deeds, the impact of our actions often touches more lives than we can see. This is the beauty of kindness. It ripples out, creating a network of positive energy that returns to us in ways that are not always visible. By choosing to act without the expectation of being seen or praised, we become aligned with a higher form of living. When we stop measuring the worth of our actions by external feedback, we free ourselves from the constraints of approval. This is not to say that we should reject all recognition or refuse to acknowledge our efforts, but rather that the act of kindness becomes enough in itself. We no longer feel the need for someone else to validate our good deed, because we know that it is meaningful on its own. By removing the external pressure of validation, we also create space for a deeper connection to ourselves. It allows us to act from a place of authenticity rather than from a desire to please others or be seen in a certain way. The act of kindness becomes a reflection of who we are, not who we want others to think we are. When we choose to let the universe be our witness, we also trust in the flow of life. We believe that even though others may not notice, our actions have meaning. The world operates in ways that often go unnoticed, and our good deeds are a part of that quiet, powerful flow. Every good act creates a wave that carries forward, even if we can't always see the results. There is something deeply humbling about knowing that our actions have significance in the grander scheme of things, even when no one is around to witness them. In a world where attention is often given to the loudest voices and the most visible actions, choosing to act quietly gives us the freedom to remain grounded in what truly matters. We are no longer dependent on external acknowledgement, but rather motivated by an internal sense of purpose. This kind of internal validation leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment as we recognize that the true worth of our actions lies not in how others perceive them, but in how they align with our own values and beliefs. By letting the universe be our witness, we embrace the idea that goodness is not a transaction. It does not need to be exchanged for something else. It exists simply because it is good. In the end, the acts of kindness that go unnoticed by others may often be the most profound because they are driven by an authentic desire to contribute to the world without any expectation of recognition. And it is through these quiet moments of goodness that we find the truest sense of fulfillment.